Hey Jay, how are we doing tonight?
Absolutely amazing. I'm super excited for this opportunity that you invited me to do. And I'm just excited to share my story with the world, another side that they don't get to see on television or, down in the PMAC.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're blessed to do this all the time, but especially gymnastics. Me and Daniel talk about it all the time. His daughter is a little gymnast herself, and we talk about the difficulty of being a gymnast. It's probably harder than anything, and so when we get to have y'all on, we get to dive in deep about that kind of stuff and just find out how you are able to be able to accomplish these things. But before we get into your story and all things gymnastics, we got to do a little icebreaker. And KJ, we judge hard on these things, so don't blow it out the gate. We may have to cut the episode because we can't have them thinking anything negative of an LSU athlete. So let's start off a little easy. What's your favorite musician or band?
Favorite band.
Please not Morgan Wallen. Please not Morgan.
She is
Not a
not a
huge
Morgan
country
Wallen.
fan. I'm, sorry to say, not a huge country fan. I am a big fan of Chase Atlantic. Have you ever heard some of their songs? They're very common on like TikTok, but some of his songs are like Swim, um, Outside, Okay.
Daniel, find me it real quick so I can hear a play of it. You got me?
We got to be careful.
Well, we did that. Tommy Troy from Stanford told us his song, and it came out with the first four words being a very explicit. So that's why he says we gotta be careful. But Daniel, tell me
Yeah,
what we're working with.
maybe something that's like not with an E
Oh,
next to it.
so it possibly could be a little
It's
rough.
very possible. I also love The Weekend.
The weekend's great.
Yeah. It's just a nice, like, calm vibe when you're driving or sometimes when you're working out.
So you got me, Daniel. What we got?
Swim.
Especially since we've only known each other one day, but I've gotta work it out, babe.
Okay, so something chill. Does it end up kicking the beat up?
Eventually, yeah, it does.
Swim.
Right
And then
around here.
this
Okay.
one's called Friends.
Oh, I love Friends. This is such a good one. It
Co-
starts out kind of slow, but
Fast forward me and Daniel.
Coming in at number 2, we got Chase Atlantic with Friends.
Okay, I can get down. All right, so this is good stuff because KJ, he said the Morgan Wallen comment for a reason. Way too many guests lately. Just really love country, and me and Daniel, not so much. Not our
yeah,
not really our thing.
I know it's crazy. I'm from Texas. You would think I love all kinds of country music, but not a huge fan of it.
Well, your routine actually has my favorite hype song because you have Purple Lamborghini,
Purple Lamborghini.
and
Yeah.
so that's why I don't know if you did. You happen to see the hype video I made from y'all from when I was there?
I no, I don't believe it.
If not, I got to send it to you. I am not a TikTok professional, but I got a lot of props on this video that I made from when I was down there watching y'all against Oklahoma. And I
Yeah.
used your song on purpose because that was my jam. Once I heard you come out to that, I was like, I got to use that. And so yeah, when you were doing your floor routine to that, I was like, all right,
Yeah,
look,
no,
we
for
already
sure.
we already think you're awesome, but now you're coming out to my jam. So
Thank you.
all right, so now we got past the music. You passed the music portion. We got to know what's your favorite movie? What's your go-to movie?
Um, I gotta say the Fate of the Furious. The Fast and Furious series.
What number is that one?
7.
7. Daniel, have you seen the seventh one?
Man, I don't think I've seen past like 4.
Yeah, you got lost in all of it, huh? Well,
I
you got to
mean-
get caught up now. If seventh is her favorite, you got to, and you can't just watch 7. So Daniel, your assignment is to watch 5, 6, and 7 and get back to me.
It's a good one.
All right.
I haven't watched 3 movies in 10 years. You think I'm gonna sit and watch 3 movies all of a
Yes.
sudden?
Well, I guess you got to get sick again. He had never seen a Marvel Avengers movie, and he got
Really?
COVID. He got COVID, so he decided that he was going to go through the gambit of them. Of course, he he didn't get through all of them because there's so many. But what'd you get?
Yeah.
Like 14 under your belt or something, Daniel?
I can't even count. It was mind numbing in my little 10 by 10 room that I was secluded to.
Well, KJ, I'm gonna tell you how old we are. The first one came out when we were 16 in high school, and we used to try to race our cars like they did in Fast and Furious, even though none of us
Oh
had
my god.
fast cars then. So it was embarrassing, but it is what it is. So for you, you talked about being from Texas. Obviously,
Mhm.
you're in gymnastics. It doesn't necessarily have to be a gymnast, but who was your favorite athlete growing up? Who did you want to emulate?
Um, when I was younger, just always watching Olympians, I became obsessed with Shawn Johnson. I just loved how solid she was, and she was like very powerful when she did her gymnastics. And then watching um whenever the final four, I think it was the final four or the final five, one of the final five team with Michaela Maroney. Um, I became obsessed with vault because like vault was one of her huge strengths, and I just loved watching her compete. She seems like very fierce when she competed. Like she had a very fierce look. I remember she did like this face where she like scrunched up her nose, and she did it with like Obama. He got Obama to do it with her, and so I remember that picture went viral. So she was like, known for her like little thinking face, I guess, before she would go out and do her vault.
So since
So
Daniel, since I'm only a few years into this game, are you aware of who she's talking about?
Absolutely, Jim. Absolutely. I mean
He's been in this
that
game a long time. He married a gymnast, so
that whole that whole squad is really the catalyst, and what's crazy
mhm.
is there is a lot of really good gymnasts for Team USA for a long time, but it seems like they ratcheted up like the publicity and just like
Yeah,
the level of gymnastics. So
definitely.
all right, so this next one, and then I'll let Daniel get into his story. One of my favorite parts, between following you on Instagram and seeing it and then reading a story about it, I have a
Mhm.
2017 Grabber Blue Mustang GT Premium that I named her Mystique. And then I see you have a red 2016 SS Camaro named Tiger Blood. So we're
Uh,
basically car people. I
mhm.
know we're there. So my question for you is, if you could have any car, I know it's on the spot, but if you could have any car, what would it be?
purple Lamborghini.
A ZO1, probably
That
about my
Geo.
one.
favorite car, right up there.
Oh, she's even
Um,
got, look at that. She's even got it
no, my
behind.
room is crazy. I have a Chevrolet poster. I've got American muscle cars over here. Um, I've got a Mustang Shelby poster over there. Like I love American muscle cars.
Tell me
Really.
your car's a standard though, not an automatic. Oh, KJ.
In
Oh,
case somebody else needed to drive for it or something, I don't know.
that's actually my purpose. My wife has never been able to drive my car, and I love it. She never will
I
be
know
able
my
to.
mom definitely can't. Um, my dad, I'm not so sure. I think he would be perfectly fine driving a stick, but um no, really, I wasn't looking for anything like specific when I was, first searching for my car. I was just looking for, you know, we were looking at used cars because a brand new one was just, a little bit over my price range. And so when we found this one, it was a 2016 and only had 20K miles on it. That was probably the best deal we could possibly get for around like 35K. So
Well, I do have
everything
one.
else.
As I said, I was going to be done, but I do have a question. I did see the picture of you on the motorcycle. Now, was that just for looks, or can you drive a motorcycle?
No, that was just for fun. That's actually my friend's. He had it over the summer and we rode it like, a couple of times. We took turns. I like to ride dirt bikes and four wheelers. My cousins have just a huge open field right next to their house. And so we used to, up in Indiana, we used to go over there for the 4th of July, and I would be obsessed with riding dirt bikes. And so, knowing a friend that had a motorcycle taught me a few things. And so I did end up getting to ride it a couple of times, but obviously that's not like a travel car. It's not like you can really bring much to Louisiana with just that. So
I mean, yeah, I could bring my whole life in that car. Very, very minimalist. So you mentioned Texas, KJ, when we were talking about our music
Mhm.
growing up there, but give me an idea where you are actually from and what it was like growing up there.
So originally, I used to live in Denton, and we moved just around a couple years ago to the small area called Lantana, and not too many people know about it. But where I went to gymnastics is kind of on the edge of Dallas. It's like in Capel. And when people ask where I'm from and I tell them Lantana, they're like, I have no clue where that's at. So I start naming off like a few cities that's around it. So I went to high school in Flower Mound, and it's right like next to Louisville, couple minutes out from Plano and Frisco.
Got a question.
Lantana does kind of sound like a made up place, Daniel.
Right? Just
I
out in the
mean,
country, kind of in the middle of nowhere.
I
But
mean, I get the idea. I mean, I guess you have to use Dallas as the landmark
yeah.
for the most part. Um,
Yeah.
but I got a question, and I always wonder this. Anytime we have someone from Texas on, is everything bigger in Texas? Is that true?
Personalities for sure, I would say.
I mean, I feel like
Um,
every time we talk to someone that's lived in Texas or from Texas, it's like the houses are bigger, the land is bigger, the cows are bigger, the trucks are bigger, the personalities are bigger. Everything is like on this grandiose scale. Um, but I guess as a kid, you don't really look at it that way. You just kind of you're just
yeah.
like, hey, this is where I live. This is what we do.
Yeah, this
Um,
is where I'm from.
but growing up, any brothers, sisters?
I do. I have a younger brother. His name is Riley. He's 16 or 17. I don't know, one of those two. This is awful. He's 17.
So
Yeah.
does Riley look up to you, or is he like, no,
No.
I'm too cool for that?
No, he's in his own little world. Not super big into sports. More in his teenage video game life.
So there's no like part of him that looks at you because I'll be honest, KJ, when I see you on TV, I'm like in awe. I'm like, you're a superstar. Like you're larger than life. But I guess since he sees you every day, he's like, I ain't subscribing to that.
Yeah. No, he could care less about social media, really.
So obviously with him, you guys are you've got the athlete side. Was
Mhm.
there a push to be an athlete growing up, or your parents just kind of let you dive into whatever you felt like you wanted to try?
I guess so. It's kind of how I got started in gymnastics. I When I was younger, I guess I was crawling around everywhere, all over playgrounds and stuff. And so my uncle put me in like the little gymnastics mommy and me classes because he thought it was a safer place for me to climb around at instead of over rocks and wood chips. So he put me in that, and ever since, apparently I loved to hang on the bars and I liked to jump in the foam pit. So those were my two, go-tos as soon as we went into mommy and me classes instead of sitting on the floor making a sandwich on our legs in a straddle position.
So at what point do you like how old were you when gymnastics it turns and it's more serious?
Um, I want to say when I was about 6 years old, that's
And
when I started getting into like wanting to do bigger gymnastics. And so I got onto this track of going through like, the tops testing and then hopes testing, and which was like, you know, it differs between the age range, but I would go and like do a conditioning test, it was a strength test, and then I would do like these routines that were what were they? They were like compulsory routines, if I'm saying it right. And so every gymnast had to have like perfect execution when it came to those routines. And then when it came to the strength test, it was like there was a certain amount of numbers for every exercise that you had to reach in order to get like a perfect score. And so it was um, more so on this track to elite. And so I would go to like these camps. I would go down to the ranch in the summers and stuff like that. And so we would just train for national teams and big qualifying meets.
So the reason I asked is my daughter is 5
Hmm.
and she's been doing gymnastics, shoot, almost 3 years now. And it's to the point now where I'm like, all right, I need this to start becoming more complex or harder. I need her to start failing at things. Is that
Uh-huh.
sounds kind of bad, but
Yeah.
excuse me. I want her to start failing at things. I want things to be difficult.
Hmm.
I want the level to kind of ratchet up, but I don't know. Like I'm on that fence of I still want her to have fun with it because she's
Yeah.
still 5,
Hmm.
but I also want her to start pushing into it being more than just this fun thing that I get to do.
Yeah.
So
No, completely understand.
at what point do you think that was for you? Was it like you said 6 or were you older or
Um, it
'cause
was
I mean,
around, so like once I got into like actually being eligible to do those types of things, like get into those types of programs, I was around like 7 turning 8. So basically 8 years old. But I had the idea of like taking gymnastics a little bit more seriously when I was around 6.
gotcha. So when you start taking it serious at 8, you start competing with the Texas Dreams Gymnastics, or were you just where were
Oh,
you at that time?
I was at Denton Gymnastics Academy for like 13 years of my gymnastics career. And around after my freshman year, so I became homeschooled um, in the middle of like 4th grade. And so that's when I started doing like 2-a-day practices. And it was like, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., just, straight gymnastics. You get a 2-hour break in the middle for like, lunch and some schoolwork. And then all the rest of my school would be online. And um, then around like, I think my sophomore year, I was like, I need a little bit more of an experience going into school. And so my old coaches at Denton Gymnastics Academy weren't necessarily like super supportive of me going back to high school or, going back to public school in general. And so when like stuff got a little bit rough between them, I was recommended like Texas Dreams by, tons of other people that had gone there from my previous gym. And so Texas Dreams worked with me. And then it was kind of a mess between like COVID and my shins injury. And then,
I
uh,
wanna I wanna talk about that real quick.
yeah.
The shins injury, you thought it was shin splints, but then it ended
Uh,
up being something way bigger. Like,
right. Well,
how does that happen? How do you go in and to the doctor and go, "Man, like, I can't get rid of these shin splints," and then come to find out it's something much larger?
what's crazy is I didn't even go into the doctor for my shins in the first place. Like I had tons of shin pain to where it was getting to the point where I was putting tape around my legs and or around my shins. And whenever my muscle would flex, it would pull on the tape on my shin and I couldn't even put tape on it. It was that sensitive. And so what everyone was telling me, just by hearing from like teammates and coaches and other coaches, they were like, you can't really do much for shin splints, but that's kind of when it sounds like you have. And so uh one of the days I was training, I fell on a dismount, kind of like rolled my ankle. It was a little bit swollen, but didn't hurt too bad. But I had a meet that weekend. So my coach was like, go to the doctor, go get it checked out just to make sure, you're good to go for this weekend and we're not, running off of a broken leg or something like that. And so when they took the x-rays at the doctor, they said my ankle turned out to be fine, but they saw that I had like a almost like a full break like a fracture in my right tibia. And so they had asked me about that, and I told them, oh, I just thought it was shin splints. I explained to them the pain I've been having for, I don't remember how long, since I was at, my very first gym. And then I told them I had it in the other leg, and they told me, so here is what you have. You've got two tibias with some major fractures in them that if you were to take, a really, really hard landing, there is a possibility that your shins could snap and you would no longer be able to do gymnastics again. And so they gave me the other option of two different types of surgeries they could have done. One of them was like a plate they could put in, but I would have to get that plate removed. So I would have to have two surgeries with that. Or they could do the rod that's drilled in through my tibias, which is going to help. Obviously, it didn't like take away the fracture, but it made sure that my bone was not going to just snap in half. It's stabilized by that titanium rod. So, but being off for like 10 months, that took, a huge amount of pain off of my shins. So I think the fracture, the break fracture, whatever it was, healed up, a decent amount to where I barely felt it.
So let's that's a lot. I
A
wanna
whole lot. Yeah. I'm
I
sorry. I could
wanna
give you like an hour story.
I wanna unpack some of that. So do you ever find it hard to believe that based on the doctor telling you if you take a hard landing, you could shatter your ankle or shatter your shin? Do you find it hard to believe that that never happened? Out of all the times that you spent in gymnastics doing, you know, these high risk maneuvers, like you were basically doing it all on two broken legs.
Yeah, it is crazy to think of that. When he told me that, I didn't know what to believe really, but at the same time, like I did a large chunk of me did believe him because there were times where I got up out of bed and I was walking downstairs to get ready for practice, and it was like just walking. I was in pain on this right shin. And I was like, I basically feel like I'm holding my legs together with tape right now, but it was painful. It was one of the most painful I guess it's not even really from a bad fall. It's just like it came over time, but probably one of the most painful injuries I've had.
Daniel, we've had football players, we've had UFC fighters, we've had, every sport imaginable. When we talk about toughness, I mean, this has got to be the top of the list, right? Like, I'm not even joking. I mean, you were competing on fractured shins. I mean, Daniel,
Yeah.
would I be wrong about that?
No,
No, you wouldn't.
you're definitely the toughest person we've had on this podcast. There,
Thank you.
I mean, we had some baseball guys miss starts because they got like blisters, and then I
Hey,
can't remember.
blisters can be a different type of pain. I'm just saying.
I know, but I guarantee you, you're not missing a meet for a blister.
Yeah, no.
So, you know, I think how crazy this is because you talk about how serious this becomes, and then I don't quite get the seriousness till you tell me, well, I even started homeschooling because I wanted to train more. I wanted to practice multiple times a
Hmm.
day. So
Hmm.
when I hear that, I immediately start thinking, all right, you're talking about a national team, you're talking about Olympic spots, you're talking
Yeah.
about like the best of the best. So
Yeah.
when this news comes and they say, all right, you have two options of surgery, you decide to go with the titanium rods.
Hmm.
Um, 10 to 12 months of being out and rehab and all that. What happens to Olympic aspirations or national team aspirations when that happens?
Honestly, that was kind of like the game changer for me. And like obviously, Madison Koshin, she was able to do Olympics and then college gymnastics afterwards. I mean, SUNY leads at that as well. And so I was like, while I wanted to get a scholarship as well as going to the Olympics and like having, that dream become a reality, um, like coming back from the shins it was like I was relearning how to walk, you know. Um, I mean, they did both shins at the same time. I was like, you know, in my downstairs bedroom for I want to say like 2 weeks, you know, barely able to move, get out of bed. I had wraps, you know, above my knees down to my feet. So it was just crazy, you know, to see not necessarily the dream fall apart, but like have my dream take a different path. And so I just kind of like took it as a little lesson that God was telling me, like, I want you to trust me in, you know, this path I'm, you know, paving for you. And this is the story that I want you to have in your life. And so I just had to trust him through it all, really.
I mean, it's amazing that you can find the strength mentally, and physically to battle back from. I mean, let's call it what it is. It's just a very adverse situation that you're thinking, and as a kid, when you think the path is one way and then it totally gets rerouted, it is very, very hard to understand why. And
Yeah.
for you to say, like, hey, I had to rethink what my story was supposed to be. Maybe it wasn't what I thought. Maybe it was something different. And it
Hmm.
looks to me like this different story is really playing out like amazing. You are one of the best gymnasts in the country.
Thank you.
Um, and that's not me blowing smoke. That's straight facts. That's you ask around, you ask other people, you ask other, gymnasts themselves, and your teammates say that. So like for them to tell us that, like, that says a lot about your character, and this story says a lot about your character being able to come back from all this. Um,
Thank you.
so eventually you start pushing through and you're able to start getting back out there, training, you're back to a high level. At what point, and you mentioned this earlier, LSU decides that they want to take a chance on you. But
Hmm.
were there any other colleges in this recruiting process when you said, well, I'm just going to go to college now? Were there any other schools that were pursuing you?
Yeah. I had, you know, I was blessed with the opportunity to get letter or with the opportunity to go and visit like other colleges and stuff like that, you know, that had showed interest in me. I think I remember like my first college letter being at my old gym. uh I don't know, I was like in 8th grade, and my coaches were kind of just not my old coaches weren't really on the collegiate route. They wanted me to stay with Olympics, stay on that elite path. You know, they think college was kind of like more the party gymnastics. Um, and so uh, some of the schools, I think it narrowed down to two. It was OU and LSU. OU was closer to home. You know, we took a tour around there and got to visit, you know, what their campus was like. OU was actually the only other school that I went on a visit and things like that, and like went to a like college camp. But I had looked into Florida. I had messaged UCLA. I, you know, was looked at by Kentucky, Illinois. What was that? Nebraska. Nebraska was huge. Um, and
But you're mentioning the best of the best. So, I mean, the options are great.
yeah, no, I was blessed with tons of coaches that were calling me, you know. A lot of them came to the elite competitions, and you know, obviously you see a bunch when you go to college camps or you go to, you know, JO competitions, you know, level 10. But a lot of them, like a lot of the best colleges came to, you know, hopes qualifiers, PNG championships, you know, a lot of elite, you know, big elite competitions and stuff like that.
So you ultimately choose LSU,
Hmm.
and what was it about LSU where you were like, that's where I'm going. That place is where I want it to be.
Um, Really, in general, when I came on my official um, or my unofficial one of, I don't remember which one it was. When I came on the visit, Jay just made this place, feel like a home when I walked into the facility. We are like blessed with a training facility that's like a palace. It's beautiful. The amount of resources, not just for the sports side, but like the academic side. We have tutors, we have an academic center where you could just go and, study and get whatever help you need. Um, they offer a lot more than I feel like any other school really has to offer. And so I kind of just took that and took the fact that both Dee Dee and Jay made this place, feel like a home more so than any other college. Um, and went off of those like, inner gut feelings and decided that I wanted to go to LSU.
Yeah, I got myself in trouble after y'all's Arkansas meet.
Hmm.
I upset a lot of people, but I said first of all, I gave credit to Arkansas in their performance, but I said now y'all just need to upgrade that high school gymnasium you compete in because LSU's practice facility is nicer, and that upset a lot of people. But the thing was, the truth hurts. Like, and so when you brought up that practice facility, the first time I got to walk in there, I was like, wow. I was
it's
like,
it's amazing. Yeah, it's beautiful there. And the amount of things that they keep adding to it, like massage chairs. I would live for those massage chairs. Like that's amazing. Um, but yeah, no, the coaches have offered so much. The training and the staff, like they they give like their full energy into us just to help us perform at our best. And so they
yeah.
really do a lot here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you get to Baton Rouge officially. You're a part of the program. We talk about the amazing facilities. You're joining amazing gymnasts like, Kaya, Haley, Alana, among others. And Jay Clark is the coach, So when you got to campus, was there just a ton of excitement or were you actually a little bit nervous?
Extremely nervous. It was, I guess, okay, so in my elite career, I didn't really have a team. I didn't compete with anyone. It was kind of just me and my coaches. Um, and so like going to even like practice and like training with a bunch of other girls and just having them cheer for you while you're just warming up or cheering, like that was very different for me. It was like I had to open my mouth and speak during practice, which was not really something that I was familiar with when I was training. I was kind of in my own little world when I was in club gymnastics, and so it was just kind of like me and the coaches don't say a word. I just go there and get business done, and you know um, results will show. And but being here, like, and having all the support of all these other teammates, like I really enjoy it. Like we are so close. We're like, all sisters. It's like we've known each other our whole lives. That's how close this team is. And so I'm very grateful for it.
Yeah, it's one of the things I tell my daughter. She's a junior, and she's in, she's getting offers from colleges everywhere. But
Hmm.
that's the point. It's about what you're talking about. The camaraderie of her team isn't really there. They don't hang out off the field, and even
Hmm.
though gymnastics and soccer aren't the same, I explained to her that I was like, y'all need to start gelling together, getting that chemistry. I said because when I watch these college sports, no matter which one it is, but definitely gymnastics. I say gymnastics leads all of them. When you
Yeah.
look at the camaraderie in the team, I said, if you follow, I said, you look at their Instagram page, I said, they're doing everything together. They're best friends, their sisters, their family. And I said, you can't undervalue that because I think that just helps y'all even more when you go out there and perform.
No, absolutely.
So, freshman year and all around gymnast, you made an explosive collegiate debut in the season opener against Centenary, where you earned a 9.90 on the vault and a 9.90 on the floor. So, what did it feel like to get that first meet under your belt? And did you feel like, you performed pretty well?
It was relieving. Being in there and getting ready to compete. I have never felt nerves like that in my entire life. Like even competing at the hardest elite competitions I had, like my heart had never pounded faster. But like getting it under my belt and like seeing all the success I had brought to the table, it helped boost my confidence, but it also gave me this level of confidence and expectations that I felt like I had to live up to. And I experienced a lot of that this year as well. I was talking to Jay about this, about how this year I felt like I had to match the expectations or the figure that um, I made last year or that I created last year. And so it can be nerve wracking going into the next competition. I know last year it was definitely nerve wracking, and it's kind of just all about following your normal daily routine and what you do in practice. But I will tell you that was not easy for me to do. I was so into my head, and I walked around with my shoulders like glued to my chin.
Yeah, absolutely. I understand. And, I got to have the pleasure of the first time seeing you live in person in the top 10 showdown against Auburn at the PMAC last year, which was just electric is an understatement. Just talk to me about what it was like before we talk about the meet, all itself, but
Mhm.
just a sold out PMAC crowd like that, that's just electrifying. Like, how amped do you get for that?
I get, extremely excited. The adrenaline rush is like, honestly, it's like COVID hitting you, and like your body is just, drained afterwards, but it gives me a lot of motivation. I would say, the amount of people doesn't really affect me as much as just like being in that arena and competing like for your team and with your team. So like, every arena is set up differently, but going into the PMAC the very first time against Centenary was a game changer for me. But there could be like half the crowd there versus like a sold out crowd, and it wouldn't have really made a difference in my mind.
Mm. Let me ask you this, as somebody who is, hopefully going to be competing in the Olympics, and obviously Suni Lee, coming off that gold medal, did that give, you guys like an extra little motivation? Because it wasn't just that it was a top 10 SEC showdown, but there was an Olympic gold medalist on the other side you were competing against
You're talking about this year or last year?
last
Or
year.
last year.
It was right after she had came off of it. So, it was a pretty big deal.
Yeah. Well, um, I think we were, I mean, I don't really think anybody thought too much of it, or that they like had to um overdo their gymnastics in order to kind of like make themselves stand out more than Suni. I'm sure she got, tons of applause whenever they announced her name, and along with the other gymnasts on that team. But I think knowing that it was a home meet for us, and our fans are super loyal to their gymnastics team here, which is amazing. Um, I think we kind of knew that we were like it was our house, and the underdogs was Auburn, and so we just kind of had to play it, one person at a time, one skill at a time, and one routine at a time, kind of like Haley Bryant says. And so I think what really got us hyped up was whenever Haley Bryant scored a 10 on vault, and the crowd went like crazy for her. And so, it was just hyping us up, throughout the whole meet. We were just having a blast with it.
Yeah, the vault was cool, and then of course, being that we're close with Kaya, and at the time she had already came on the show twice.
Mhm.
Her floor routine hitting that 10 and us getting to be there.
Yeah.
We sat right next to her mom, so it just makes it
Oh.
even better when you see the excitement on her mom, and she just absolutely killed that routine. And then watching y'all mob her afterward. But you yourself, you had a 9.95, which was your career high. So I mean, how did that feel? Like we're talking about, you said it doesn't matter the crowd and everything, but nonetheless, I mean, everybody has to be on their best that day if you're going to win that
Right.
kind of meet. And so you go
Right.
out there and put up your career high on the floor. So how did that feel?
I mean, it was great to see a high score um, come out of that routine. I guess Jay, one thing that he reminds us of is like not to let the scores bother us. So whether it's a low score and we did good gymnastics, judges are going to be judges. It's just all about like doing what we can and doing our best, like putting our best out there and taking, everything out of the judges' hands to where they have nothing to deduct. And I'm kind of someone who doesn't pay a whole lot of attention to, I guess, the score or my scores personally, or any score that goes up there. Like I could be completely clueless as of what I got on any event until the meet ends. Um,
Isn't
I
that
think,
isn't that crazy though? Like it's not like typical sports where you control like your score. Like you
mhm,
go out there and someone else controls what you score.
mhm,
And a lot of times like the the win and loss margin is like less than a point,
yeah,
which is
yeah,
unbelievable. Like the margin for error in gymnastics is probably the smallest in any sport.
yeah,
Yeah,
very much so.
but
Because it's once you go out there, you can't undo anything. You can't go and work harder to, make another field goal or make another touchdown, or you don't get another chance to, hit the ball in baseball. I don't know if that's how it works, but you don't get another chance. You don't get 3 tries of a routine. You get one turn. And if you're off by the smallest millimeter, then you make the adjustments throughout the routine or throughout the skill.
But
But
that's one of the things that I think is beautiful about gymnastics, Daniel, is the one score gets to drop. So you do have that one mistake. You like you just said in football, if you drop that touchdown, you don't get another chance at that necessarily per se, or like just strike out. So that's one cool thing that has, and y'all set it up obviously with the anchor being the best person. So if
Mhm.
someone does have a bad day, does struggle, whatever, you got who you hope at the end is going to bring it home and bring it back around.
Yeah.
But that is when my wife became like a super fan. She was like, that girl is bad A. She was like, check out the tats, the makeup. She was like, it was the face that you even had. She was like, she's hardcore. She's like, I'm a fan. And so
Oh,
she's been on you ever since. And so that was when that started, and obviously that'll carry over into this year, which we're going to talk about. But I did want to shout you out. You were first of all, me and Daniel, big believers in academics. So first year SEC academic honor roll, which is great. And then obviously you were all SEC team. So shout out to you for a great debut freshman season. My question would be, and like, be honest about it. Did it meet your expectations personally, or did you feel like you maybe could have done? You always feel like you can do better, but I mean, do you feel like you did pretty solid?
freshman year, yes, I was very excited with the work that I did. I know uh, it was always like a struggle to stick my vault every competition, and that's still a struggle this year. But you know, going out there and realizing with all the success that was drawn to my attention, I realized that I was doing really good in the spot that I was in. And Jay kept me only on the floor and the vault, competing wise. And so he thought that was like a good headspace for me, just because freshman year, like I was so all in my head, with overthinking things. A lot of it, he was telling me like I just gotta let loose. But it was a really good like starting point for me. I thought I brought a lot to the table. And even though I felt like I could bring more, I was happy with, the amount that I did.
Yeah, there's always room for improvement, and I figured you'd say
Yeah.
that. But from what I read, from what I saw, it felt solid. And so going into this year, I got to go right to the Kentucky meet. Kaya goes down, and it's clear. We just talked about the camaraderie, and I'm watching y'all on TV, and you can see it on your faces. It's
Mhm.
affecting all of y'all across the board.
Yeah.
So what does Jay say to y'all to try to help y'all focus and say, we still got to meet to win.
Mm.
We gotta, it's as bad as it sounds. We kind of got to put this on the back burner and focus on the goal at hand.
Yeah. I mean, basically that is something, kind of in words, that's kind of what he does say. Another thing that Bugs says is that if there's anything that Kaya wants us to do, it's to um take this, take this next event and um, you know, do not get off the beam, work, go into the next event and like attack our routines, give everything we got and go full out. And I know that was probably like a little bit of a struggle for some of us. I know like seeing something like that doesn't necessarily hit me until after the meet's over. And just because I get, again, like I get into my own little world. So it was, there was a lot of pressure when everyone was going on beam. And I think everyone was still trying to just like, find themselves and like, you know, come back to the center and, reset for that next event. But I think from there, from that meet and from Utah, like we've been climbing better and better, and we're just like learning more ways to deal with the things that have been thrown at us this season.
So let's talk. You said you get better and better. You end up like this all comes to fruition because you go to Gainesville, and there's some good and there's some bad that
Mhm.
happens in Gainesville. You beat number 2 Florida in their house. So let's start with this. What's that feeling like when you go there and you take them down, the number 2 team in the country, and you're like, boom, like everything hits, everything is exactly the way you guys, you know, practice for.
It was a huge, I think it was good for us to see that, we're capable of that in a competition setting. And it was good for us to see all of the success that we had just put in together in the same day. And some people would call it luck, but I would call it working our asses off in that training week. We did everything, like we worked every skill with a lot of intention put into it. And so uh, it was just good for our team to see that, along with our coaches. It puts a lot of confidence in our minds going into the next week and the next team that we go and compete against next.
I mean, the whole season up until that point, I mean, there were
Mhm.
some tough losses along the way that probably
Yeah.
allowed you to be battle tested and ready for that situation. You
Mhm.
have some injuries along the way, and then you just step up, and it's a tribute to the team, the coaching, and just the culture and expectation that you guys have set there.
Yeah.
So, you know, in an unfortunate event, you step off a mat wrong and you break your foot. All
Yeah.
right. So it's crazy to me to read this, and it's like all the things you do, and then that's how an injury happens. And
Yeah.
I'm sure like you're in the same boat, but um, you know, you're not new to adversity. Obviously,
Mhm.
coming back the first time, and now this is devastating to have to, come off a huge win that generates all this momentum.
Yeah.
But now it's put you on the sideline from at that moment it was 4 to 6 weeks. So I just kind of want a idea of where you're at mentally, where you're at physically since that moment.
Mentally, the day it happened, I was confused. I was in shock and I was just I was in anger at myself. I wish I could have, I know anybody could have wished this, but like anyone, I wished I could have like undid that moment. Um, First off, who puts that big of a dip in a mat right next to bleachers? Like, come on now. Um, where I was mentally, I was looking at Kaya and how she's handled her injury and looking at Cami Hall and how she's, handled her injury. They both have come out so positive about the way that they're taking their path and their recovery and everything. And so I looked at them as like role models. And so I wanted to follow after their lead because I knew the team didn't need me to be dragging them down because I was upset about my foot. You know, it's upsetting. I let it hurt that night, got it all out, and I put it to the side and just realized that that happened for a reason. There's going to be tons of other opportunities for me to get back out there and show my comeback. And I just realized that I had a new role to play, and that was being supportive and being positive about my recovery and towards my team, who needed all of my cheering and all of my love and support and um, all my energy that I could give, you know.
So what does rehab look like for you on a day-to-day basis?
So rehab has been, I guess, for the first week, I could not move my foot at all. It was nasty bruised, it was swollen. Um, I was telling myself I'm completely fine, knowing dang well I was not okay. My foot was broken. Um, it was, we started off of just moving my foot around, um, applying like no pressure. I was on crutches for maybe 2 to 3 days. And then the rest I was walking around in a boot. And I actually got out of the boot today. So we're making huge progress. Um, and today we applied some pressure. We did like some single leg holds on that broken foot. Um, and then I'll just get like more updates from the doctor this Wednesday. And so the goal that we're hoping to hear is that he will let me start back up slowly starting this week. I know we leave for SEC, so there's not really going to be much for me to do. Um, but we are hoping that this next coming week, I will be able to start, you know, slowly ramping things up and maybe get me back out there for vault for regionals.
So in your head, the timeline to get back is regionals.
Yeah.
So with that, give me a pulse check. Obviously, you know, personal adversity, but also adversity that the team is now facing. You get
Hmm.
some momentum against Florida, and
Hmm.
now headed to this coming up weekend, the SEC championships. Um, you know, what is the mindset of the team, and where are they at physically as far as filling the holes that injuries have left?
You know, this team has worked their tail off when it comes to being like, we have a large amount of girls prepared on every event, um, that, you know, are continuing to train and get better and better on that event in case something happens, and something has, you know, almost every meet where somebody else has to step in. And so I think it's a learning experience for some of the freshmen, that, you know, they're taking big steps of learning what it's like to step in and be under the pressure, of being put in a big spot like that. And then I think it's also um, a like a learning step for this whole team to learn to trust that next person that's stepping in or filling in the hole. Because I mean, I had to learn how to do that. I had to learn to just trust this team, um, knowing that they're gonna have my back when I'm someone who goes in on floor and vault every meet, you know. But going into SECs, um, I think seeing how we've handled this season and how we've handled all the adversity that's been thrown at us has made us think that we can just overcome basically anything that's thrown at us. And so when we talked about it in our meeting today, we talked about how it's basically everybody else versus us. And we're going to give like every other team that we're competing out there with this weekend, um, just a reason for them to worry, a reason for them to be timid, and a reason for them to think that they need to go 10 times harder. And I know a lot of us, this is like our first time competing at SECs based off like the people who didn't get to compete last year, and along with the new freshmen. So I think it's going to be really good. It's going to be a great learning experience. It's going to be an amazing success. And overall, I think it's going to be really fun.
So you guys are in session 2 this weekend, and that's you guys, Kentucky, Alabama, and Florida.
Yes.
So what are like when you look at that, like like obviously, I guess the thought is more so don't worry about who's in the session,
Right.
worry about what you can do,
Right. Yeah.
and
But that's an
I
awesome session, Daniel. That is must see gymnastics
oh
right there.
yeah,
Those 4 right
Mhm.
there.
of course. When you talk about SEC gymnastics, I mean, all of those teams are going to come to mind, and it's amazing that we're at this point, um, outside of COVID and outside of like all that's going on, and like SEC gymnastics is on this level that I don't think a lot of people thought it would be at, and that's
Yeah.
really um you know tribute to you and all the hard work that you guys put in and all the girls across the country. Like this is something that now has, if you look on Friday night on ESPN, it's college gymnastics.
Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing. And it's not just like, random meets. It's the best of the best. And it's a 2 block session from
Mhm.
7 to 8, 8 to 9. I actually from like 7 to 11, it's college gymnastics. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. So, um, I'll let Jim run you through. I just wanted to make sure that I told you like this is, you know, me having a daughter that is in gymnastics, being able to turn on the TV and her see other girls doing it, like,
Mhm.
and watch her run around my couch and think that she's doing like vault and like jumping
Oh.
from the couch to the floor, and she has her own little uh like parallel bar she's swinging on. Like it's cool. So I want to say thank you for that because she looks up to you girls, and everything you guys do, she tries to do.
Oh. How sweet.
But you know what? The sweet stuff is over because we're fixing to play this or that. And KJ, I said I was putting you to it earlier, but you see this poster back there. That's you on my wall. You're the first guest that I've actually ever had their poster on the wall before coming. If this goes bad, the poster's coming down. I'm sending it to Daniel. You got to do something with this. And so the game is called this or that. We give you one option or the other. The only rules is you can't say neither and you can't say both. You down to play?
Yes. I'm excited. Let's do it.
All right. Would you rather have the ability to teleport or would you rather have a time machine?
Um, I want to say teleport.
If you could teleport to just like anywhere right now, where would it be?
The Bahamas.
Solid.
Tanning.
I mean, can't go wrong with that for sure. All right. This one's from my wife. All right. One has to go. The nose ring or the tattoos? Which one is it?
Nose ring because it's fake.
Oh, it's
Oh,
fake. Oh, breaking
Yeah.
news. I'm not letting her listen to the episode now. She's a little disappointed.
why? Let me ask this. Why is it fake? We
um,
just couldn't
so
commit.
one thing is in college gymnastics, or I guess I don't know if this is a rule for everybody, but I know in college gymnastics you can't have facial piercings. You can only, like, if you have a nose piercing, you can only have a stud. So having to just like change that every meet, like I have to change my earrings. Like I have 2 dangling earrings that I have to put in studs for every meet. And so just having to think of doing another thing on my nose, that's just another pain, or just another something to remember. And if I take it out, there's a hole in my nose.
I'm not taking this excuse because my daughter has a nose ring and she takes hers out for her soccer games. Oh, KJ.
Hers is
No,
real.
hers is real. Yeah, we took her to get hers when she turned 16. She had to have it.
Oh,
All right, this will be an interesting one because I have read a lot about you, and I hear that in the gym you get after it. And I'm not just
Mhm.
talking about on the bouncing, I'm talking about the weight. So, would you
Yeah,
rather be the strongest person in the world, or would you rather be able to fly?
the strongest person in the world.
That's what I'm talking about. DB, you
Yeah.
hear that?
Yeah,
Everybody says they want to fly. I want to be stronger than everybody.
she flies every day at practice, so like
Yeah.
I'm gonna give her this.
That's a fact. She does do that. So you were talking about the two that you get to compete in, and I already knew which your two favorites were. So that's why I'm gonna ask you this question in this format. If you could only compete in two, and the options were floor and beam paired together or bars and vault paired together, what are you doing?
Vault any day.
So you're gonna do the bars and the vault.
Oh wait, I thought it was like
So that's what I'm saying. So I know you do floor and vault, and so that's why I
uh-huh.
paired floor with beam and I paired
Uh-huh.
bars with vault. So is it
Oh, okay, okay. Oh, that's a tough one, actually. I guess I'm gonna go with floor and beam
floor and beam?
because just my floor routine, I feel like it could give off such a fun, like a different personality side. And everybody loves, they say they love to see my tumbling. And so I love to show off like the amount of power that I have, even
Yeah.
though at the end of the routine, I'm like dying for oxygen or a cup of water.
Bless you here. KJ, the sophomore from Dallas, all SEC her freshman year last season.
Yeah, no doubt. And so
KJ is going to open with a huge tuck pull, open tuck pull, and she's not going to grab her legs.
Nope.
Open
Outstanding.
tuck full and not even grabbing your legs. That's
I'm scared to
unbelievable.
grab my legs.
and I could hear a little bit of the tune in the background. And that was, hey, let me tell you something. I went to that Oklahoma meet. Daniel, I don't know if I've told you about this. The music for their floor routine killed me, man. It was so boring. Like what they were doing was great, but like LSU comes out to nothing but bangers.
Mhm.
And Oklahoma's was boring. This one girl's was like a cell phone ring thing repeatedly. I was like, what am I listening to?
Reagan's.
You know how the girls on the side will do the routine with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Oklahoma girls on the side, they were like, we really got to do this to this song.
Really?
No, I kid, but I could imagine if the song was terrible, like there's no way I could be pumped up for
Yeah.
that.
And they're the
Yeah.
only team I've seen do that. So I understand Oklahoma's elite, but they got to get more elite music to match what they're doing. But so this one's always a fun one. This is a staple question of the show. You can go to any concert, bucket list concert, or any sporting event, bucket list sporting event. What are you picking, the concert or the sporting event?
um, I guess I'll say concert.
All right, so who we going to see and where are we going to see them?
Um, I would choose like some uh something like Coachella or Jambalaya. Like, you know how they have like a list of like the top 10 rappers that go all at once and like it's a huge festival. I actually had tickets to Coachella and then COVID hit. So I didn't get to do that for my birthday, but I was willing to go. I'm not like a huge fan of crowds. So like going anywhere where there's going to be a lot of crowding and stuff like a lot of people is not typically something I'll really want to go out and do. Kind of in my own little bubble, like a space bubble.
Well, she showed that all academic, Daniel, because everybody else just names this like one artist, and she named where there'll be like 10 artists. So well done. All right. So this next one, I'm gonna preface it by saying there is no good scenario in this question. So you just have to pick which one you would prefer. Would you rather be attacked by a grizzly bear or a tiger?
A tiger.
Ooh, no hesitation. Why the tiger so fast?
Tigers are cooler than bears, in my opinion.
So if you're gonna get eaten by one, you'd rather get eaten by the cooler animal?
Well, I would hope that I would come out just severely injured and I could say I wrestled a tiger, you know.
The tiger realizes that you are a tiger yourself. Hopefully, take it easy on you. I get you. I feel you. All right, last question. This is a tough one. I want you to be honest with me, KJ. Don't lie to
Okay.
me. All right, would you rather betray your best friend or go to jail for 5 years for a crime you did not commit? 5 years is a long time, KJ.
Probably betray my best friend
Daniel.
because in a couple of days we'll look at each other and we'll laugh at the whole scenario and everything will be completely fine.
Daniel, it took a few episodes to get some honesty. I
Fine,
mean, and
fine.
it was great that it was one of our female guests. All these boys talking about I can't betray my best friend. Me and Daniel are like, we'd stick the knife so far in each other's back it ain't even funny. We need to go to jail for each other.
I ain't going to jail. I ain't spending 5 years, 5 months, 5 weeks, 5 days.
He said he's not hitting the waiting room.
I'm not even going to the parking lot of the jail.
Yeah.
Not for me. Not for me. Well, KJ, this has been a blast. It was great getting to know you, getting to hear
I
your
had a great
story.
time. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
We definitely got to have you back on.
I
But
would love that.
before you bounce though, anything you want to plug or promote?
Nothing that comes to mind. If
Well,
anything, I'll text Jim for next time.
I'm gonna help you out. So the first thing I gotta ask is, what is swig?
Swig. Okay, so it's like an energy packet. It helps you focus and it's super healthy. It's not like an energy drink where it's gonna make you super jittery and it's like got loads of caffeine that's unhealthy for you. It tastes really good. It comes in like some lovely berry flavors, so you don't get like a nasty acid like take from those nasty what are they called? Spark packets or regular energy drinks. But Swig has definitely been something that's been very different that I've tried. I've tried like V16s, I've tried Sparks, I've tried, little uh Mio, however you say it. I think those are like little energy boosters. I don't know. But Swig has definitely like stood out for sure. And the flavor just lasts way longer.
Gotcha. Well, everybody, y'all go out, y'all go get you some swig. I don't even know where you can get it, but go drink it. It sounds
It's in the
delicious.
link in my bio on my Instagram.
There you go. So speaking of Instagram, at KJ_Johnson 101. Or if you want to see what KJ's up to with the LSU gymnastics team, going over to at LSU Gym. You'll get to check all them out. You'll get to check her out on a random Tuesday. You'll get to find out how to drink swig. But most importantly, I need everybody to go this weekend. SEC Championship, 7 p.m. SEC
Sure.
Network. Session 2, you got LSU, you got Bama, you got Kentucky, you got Florida. It's going to be a party. Everybody go check it out. KJ, it's been a blast. We wish you nothing but luck. Tell everybody we said good luck and go kick some ass. And when you guys win and when you get ready for regional, we're going to bring you back on and we're going to talk about it. All right.
Absolutely. I cannot wait. Thank you guys so much for having me.
You got it. That's KJ Johnson, everybody. If you like hearing KJ's story or you just like hearing us average Joes talk X's and O's, please like and share the podcast on Facebook, retweet us on Twitter, listen and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. As always, comments, ratings, feedback, likes, hugs, loves, thumbs up, all that good stuff. We'll take it all. But we'll see everybody next week. We got episode 19 coming at you. We're going to be talking Tennessee baseball with Charlie Taylor. This has been the End Off the Bench podcast. As always, remember, strong bodies, sharp minds, grit and grind all the time. We're out.